This is Kasra from Critical Music, and I'm representing the Drum and Bass Diaries. The first ever label night, 100% label night, which we call Critical Sound, I hate the term, but as a brand, was actually here in Fabric in room 3, the room we're standing in now, in May 2010. It's the first time we've been asked to do a label night, and it was the first time we'd been asked to host anything anywhere as prestigious as a club like Fabric. Yeah, it was amazing. It was a real eye-opener to validate a place where we were at and show what we'd achieved, but also it kind of encouraged me to look at this as something that we can do not only at London and Fabric, but outside. Just the support that was shown on that night from people who come not only from London but outside of London, and the people who wanted to DJ for us and be part of what we're doing, it just was really encouraging. Well, I'm not a promoter, so there's a percentage of stress and pressure that I don't feel, but I have the same, I care as much, because obviously every party you play, especially at your own label night, you want to be busy, you want there to be a good atmosphere, you want the music to be right and stuff like that. There's always a nervous energy and excitement, but I normally cope by making sure I'm prepared and possibly getting drunk. I don't think there's anywhere really quite the same as London to DJ, especially in a place like this, Fabric. You can't really compare it. Like the venue, the system, the open-minded nature of the crowd, that kind of thing. I'd say the UK as a whole, for me, is one of the most responsive places to play. I was talking to a fellow DJ at the weekend when I was away in Europe, and we were talking about how you get great reactions most places you play, but in the UK there's a different kind of reaction because the UK still has that real passion for the new music. You can play a set in Europe that might be a slightly older set or mix up some tunes that have been out for a little while, and as long as you choose good music, ultimately that's the main thing. But in London and the UK, I've found that people are always really keen to hear the latest unreleased stuff. But I know I'm lucky. I seem to be able to be playing like really good parties all over. So it's good though. The underground side of drum and bass is very healthy at the moment, I think. There is a lot of competition in London, but there also isn't at the same time. There was a lot more nights a few years ago. It seemed that there was a lot more weeklies as well. And now you have Fabric Live on a Friday, things that happen at different clubs and one-off events, and obviously it's very much in vogue to do warehouse parties. But I just think if you work with a good club like Fabric or the promoters we work with regionally around the country and across Europe and the rest of the world, and you put together really exciting lineups and think a little bit differently to everyone else, and then supported by the fact that for us, we built up something with Critical Sound that suggests a certain type of night is going to be presented to you. It's like a certain kind of music. People like the feel of the label and the nights. So yeah, it's just it's working with good people and just putting the best music forward, and I just think that works best. Well, we sometimes, because I'm not strictly just a drum and bass fan, and I think we have a lot of affinity with other parts of electronic music, other BPMs, we have had different guests play for us. For example, we had Code 9 from Hyperdub headline room 2 for us in January, and he didn't play drum and bass, he only played about 15 BPM slower than drum and bass, but it wasn't drum and bass. And I think that sometimes that kind of thing can be a bit of a hard sell to a drum and bass crowd, because the reason people love drum and bass is because they just want to hear drum and bass. It's not that they're closed-minded, but it's just, that's the way people are when they want to go out to a drum and bass night. But it worked really well, and I think within the context, musically, if it fits in, it can work. I think if you go too extreme, I think if you have bleak minimal techno between two drum and bass DJs, it probably isn't going to work. work, but if you have something that has an affinity, then it can. We're just building up the label, just working with more artists exclusively. That's another thing that obviously helps with the nights. You have artists that are associated with your label only, so you can use that to your advantage to make sure that you have the strongest night, and people know, you know, if I want to see this artist, I'm going to see them at that night. Just working hard, working with the artists that we've signed to build up album projects, tours, and just the usual stuff that we do, just doing more of what we've been doing really. I don't know where we'll be in 5 years. 5 years ago I didn't think I'd still be running the label, and now it's like last year was the best year we've ever had.